Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today I'm very happy to say I've got another male guest. His name is Dan Faill, and he is from Los Angeles. Did you say, Dan, when we were speaking off air?
Yes, ma'am, that's right.
Excellent. So very different time zones that we're speaking on today. I'm sort of late afternoon and Dan's speaking in his early morning. So it's great that we're speaking to each other across the pond. And what I particularly like about Dan is that he talks a lot about masculinity and how that impacts our romantic relationships. So the first thing I'd like to ask you, Dan, is how did you sort of get into speaking about this? And, what personal experiences have led you to be doing what you're doing now?
Mm-hmm. And thanks for having me too. What's I think fascinating is that I never wanted to be a masculinity speaker. And that is something I never thought that I would be. It's not that I never wanted to be it. I just never thought that I would be it. And I say that because a lot of people look at me. I'm 6'2". I'm of a decent weight, and a lot of people just assume, oh, you played sports, you played basketball, you played, football, you've played baseball, you've played whatever. And I'll let you know right now, Lyn, I play none of them. And especially, I don't play them well at all. And I think growing up in the Southeast United States, there's a lot of expectations of, well, you have to play sports and you have to do this and you have to be a gentleman and you have to do, and so there's just all of those expectations. But when you don't play sports, or when you don't even follow sports, like my dad never put on ESPN because his thought was that it was just the same show on repeat every 30 minutes. So that kind of infused in me. And so we never really watched a lot of sports. We never attended a lot of like different games. And so I think growing up, I always felt a little out of place in my masculinity. And it never really felt like I fit in. Well, if I don't do sports and if I don't know how to talk about them, do I fit in with the guys? And the answer is no. And so I often struggled with my own identity around masculinity. And so I think as soon as I kind of continued to become a speaker in this realm over the last 15 years, I realized that there are a lot of men who are kind of tired with this, you're either toxic or you're not. And the more that I continue to do a little research, the more that I was doing some readings around it, I realized that there are a lot of different identities, right? Masculinity is not a two-sided coin. It's not toxic and not toxic. And so being able to look at things from a different lens was important to me, and to give voice to those that maybe don't play sports, to say that we can talk about these hard subject matters around masculinity and vulnerability that are difficult, but they don't have to be hard, right? Like we can break down those hard topics in a relatable, meaningful way. And so that's really kind of the miniature journey that I was on that got me to where I am today, to be a masculinity speaker, amongst other topics.
That's fascinating, because one of my main topics that I do educate people around is, the subject of masculinity and femininity, and, the typically unhealthy traits that are associated with both, and the healthy traits that are associated with both, and how that dynamic works in the context of romantic relationships to make that then a healthy relationship. And I think masculinity has had very much a bad press, certainly in recent decades. And the whole subject of equality has been very misunderstood, because for me, equality doesn't mean being the same as men. Men are not hairy women. It's about, understanding our differences and embracing those differences.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is where I never understood with any of the just general movements for equality, right? Whether that's voting rights, whether that's equal treatment, whether that's police brutality, for any, like, I have never understood. And for those listening, I am a 6'2" straight white man, and you can't mistake that. Like, I am white. I never understood what I give up when I try to ensure and vote and make sure that people have the same rights that I do, right? The same ability that I have every day, that I just wake up as a white man, and that all the privilege that comes with that. I don't understand what I lose by helping others have that same amount of privilege.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's just a different, right? Like, I worked in higher education at universities, and, did a lot of social justice work. And I don't know if that just opened my eyes more, but I really, truly, I think that's what I often struggle with here, especially here in the States right now. Why is this, like, I lose nothing by making sure that other people have equal access to what I have access to every day?
Yeah, and I totally support and agree with that. I think equality means having equal opportunities and embracing the differences, not only, like you say, between men and women, but every single aspect of human nature, regardless of sexual orientation, race, color, creed, ability, or whatever that might be. And I certainly think as well, feminism, that feminist movement hasn't helped, and the Me Too movement, which I can relate to, hasn't helped either, because there's been a lot of man bashing on the back of that, which hasn't helped us understand, really masculinity especially in the context of how to have a healthy relationship.
Well, and I think to pull that as well, I mean, the Me Too movement, of which I'm also a survivor, and I'm a big proponent of that, of the overall movement, and believe survivors first. What's fascinating, and I'll try to kind of weave this point in and out. It's not that we don't fully understand it. It's that I think so oftentimes, and again, I'll use the United States as an example because that's my best frame of reference, is that for so long, abstinence was the only education method. In fact, depending on what state you live in, it's still the only method of education. But we also know that abstinence education doesn't work, period. Like, there's research around this that we know that abstinence education does not work. What does work? Providing options, providing different types of education, because not everyone learns the same. And I think that's what, gosh, for better or for worse, as much as I love the Me Too movement, a lot of all of a sudden a switch was flipped. And now it was, if you're not, if you're not beating down the doors, if you are not, calling out everyone, if you're not just angry and mad as hell about it, then why are you here? Then you're not a supporter.
Yes.
And I think a lot of men want to support, but don't know how. But now all of a sudden it's well, if you want to stop rape, stop raping people, which is an abstinence approach to education around sexual violence prevention, which again, we know doesn't work. And so I think looking at ways that we can break down those barriers, that we can break down the anger and the frustration around around the subjects, to be able to say, like, this is all nuanced. I remember, at this point, it was well over 10 years ago now. I was on a panel, and a majority of my work, Lyn, is around working with males and females that are identified in fraternities and sororities, right? So that's a very much United States, US approach with education with fraternities and sororities. But I was on a panel all around how men, specifically fraternity men, can be better advocates and allies. And all of a sudden we started to talk about the F word, feminism. And I remember saying on this panel with a gender studies professor, a couple of other women, and another senior administrator, I said, look, I don't consider myself a feminist. Because I think at the time, feminism was feminist like you had to look or identify as a female in order to be a feminist. And so I jokingly said, I don't consider myself a feminist. I consider myself femi-curious. I want to help. I just don't know how, because when I try to, now I'm mansplaining, or now I'm taking up space that should belong to a woman, which, okay, cool. But then at what point is it okay for me to help?
Yes.
Right? At what point do you want me to disrupt? Because here I am trying to show that I'm curious about it, but because I don't have it, quote, figured out, I don't know what to do. And then therefore I'm a disruption or a distraction in that process. And I think that's where it's like, look, I'm here. I'm happy to use the microphone. I'm happy to use the stage. I'm happy to use whatever I can. But then hopefully you don't crap on me if I make a mistake, because people make mistakes. We are human beings in that one. And so I think I want to give people the skills to be able to say, like, let's just at least talk about it. And that is, I think, when it comes to the relationship aspect, I'm divorced, and so I'm in the dating pool, which is a nightmare. And so, but I've often found that it's like, well, I want someone who has, can I curse on this? I don't know if I can.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. Like I'll be swiping on profiles, and one of them will say, like, I want someone who has their shit together. And I want to be like, I'm sorry, boo-boo, ain't no one in this world got their shit together. Like no one has it. We've all got something wrong. Or it's I want a gentleman, someone who takes charge, but treats me with all of the, the respect and chases me. And I'm like, gentlemen don't chase though. Right. Like you want to at me. I got the Southern mentality of what gentlemanly conduct should be, which also is grounded in systemic toxic masculinity culture. So it's fascinating in the dating world when women are like, well, I want someone who's vulnerable and open. And myself being a vulnerability speaker, as soon as I start to open up, it's that, whoa, that was a lot. This was too much vulnerability. And I'm like, okay, so you say you want it, but then as soon as someone expresses emotion from a male that's not anger or sports or angry at sports, then all of a sudden it's not what you wanted. And so men, especially college age men that I work with, they're shutting down because it's easier for them to just not do anything.
Yes.
Than to try to do something and get called out for it. So they are mentally, physically shutting down and becoming more recluse in the nation, specifically on college campuses. And that's going to have a massive impact on how they show up for themselves and the rest of the world from here on out.
And also I found that that's not attractive either, to the opposite sex, because men, we do want you to be men. We don't want another, a female version in a masculine body, basically, and I think women are confused about what they want, and men are confused about how to interpret what women want. Because
I often joke with men is that we are simple beings. Like we are very simple beings. And when I joke with college age women, I'm like, look, if you are tired of dating the like boys on campus, then expect them to be men and we will change. But until we are ever broached with this, hey, you must change or this will happen, most men will always just regress to the mean of what's the lowest poor behavior that you'll tolerate. And great, that's just where I'll function. And that's not good for anyone. No,
it's not. I mean, my education is around teaching, people that we all have masculine and feminine energy, but in opposite sex relationships, usually one of you has the more dominant natural core feminine energy, and that's usually the woman. It's not always the case. And one of you has the more natural core dominant masculine energy, and that's usually the man. But again, that's not always the case. But it's that polarity of energies, especially when you're operating both at your highest, healthiest levels, that creates the passion, creates the fulfillment, creates that attraction and desire. And that's being lost because I think we're being educated more and more to sit in that gender neutral zone, which is very similar gender, energy, which, we're almost becoming gender neutral, which doesn't create passion, or it doesn't create attraction.
I would somewhat agree, but then respectfully disagree. I don't know. And again, coming at this from a place in the United States, I think we've prescribed too many labels in the world. I think we try to put people into a box that makes sense for the majority. And if it doesn't make sense for the majority, then we other it. Now, the majority for most of the world for a couple of millennia has been white men. And so I think we white men have created unrealistic expectations of what all of this is. And we try to make it fit into you're either male or you're female. I think we've got a spectrum of identities, right? Like, because I have a penis, does that make me male? By sex? Yes, that does. By gender, I can be whatever I want to be.
Yes.
But I need to be comfortable with others to be able to express that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where gender expression comes into play of, well, how do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And that's fine as long as it's able to be communicated. And I think that's where a lot of items kind of like fall apart, is that communication barrier of, this is what I want from the relationship. Oh, well, some person might say, like, I'm ready for marriage, I'm ready for kids. But if the other person is not ready for marriage and not ready for kids, but they start dating and they never talk about it until it's too late, that's an issue. So communication about gender expression would be very similar. This is who I am. Here's who I'm comfortable with being. And here's everything else. Great. If that's not respected from the other partner, don't date the other partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying, that works, it's about sex or gender. All I'm saying is about the energy that you're exuding is what creates that attraction to the opposite.
Well, so I'll take
your partner.
So the woman I'm dating right now, she is Yelp elite, right? So she Yelps a lot. And every place that she has picked for food has been fantastic. So deliciously good. And she has dietary restrictions. She's vegan. And so, because it's Los Angeles. And so, I've picked a restaurant twice, and I have jokingly said, I'm not allowed to pick restaurants anymore. Like, the food has not been as good as what you have picked. She was like, well, do you Yelp it? I'm like, no, I don't. I Google. And so, but we've jokingly said, I'm like, you're picking the restaurants. And so she told me, and this was earlier this week, actually, she said, you're picking the restaurant. And he was like, you are going to pick that. And I was like, oh, okay. This feels like pressure. I will pick a restaurant. I'm so sorry if it's not as good as yours, but feel free to call me out on my inability to Yelp. But I think, again, that's the communication piece, that she's just picked some really good ones because of her tools and resources that she has. I have not, and I want to do better. but I think that piece of, I'm okay letting her pick the place. Like, I don't have to pick it all the time. And she's kind of like, nope, you're picking now. Like, cool. That's a communication piece. That's an expectation piece that has to be discussed prior. And that's where a lot of men struggle, is that we've never had to be educated around masculinity, because it's a term that has really only come out in the last 50 or so years as masculinity, and much less exploring it and studying it and looking at what that means. And I'm thankful for women like Brené Brown, who are at least dispelling a lot of those vulnerability myths that men can then start to open up as well. But I think finding what works looks different. And we as men have not been given those A, skills to adapt or change, B, skills to actually communicate in order to be effective. And so C, we just shut down because that's easier.
Yeah, I agree. And that is one of the, I suppose one of the main differences, generally speaking, between men and women. Women are more likely to reach out for help and support, especially, from other women, because that's the way we heal, we learn, and we grow, is we do communicate more than men. I think it's been shown that we speak 7 times on average more than men, in any particular time during the day. So, generally speaking, if you're, of the feminine energy, not gender specific again, but if you're of the feminine energy, then you're usually that person that does reach out for self-help. So in some ways, women are more better equipped because we have no problem about talking about things and communicating or reaching out for help, whereas men, or the masculine energy, I should say, are generally less likely to.
Well, the joke that I use, I feel like, and again, being a male, I don't know the experience of a women's bathroom, but I feel like there is no more supportive place in the world than a women's bathroom in general, especially if you're at a party or at an event or anything. Like, I feel like there's some sort of like an invisible flare or hand sign or call sign, like something that happens that all women, all of a sudden it's like, she needs us. Who is she? We don't know, but she's in the bathroom and needs us. And then like everyone goes to the bathroom. I feel like you've talked about anyone and everyone at the event. I feel like you've solved all kinds of world issues, but there's no more supportive place. Oh my gosh, you look great. Oh my God, you look great. Oh my God, I love your hair. Oh my God, I love your dress. And you're like, I know, pockets, right? And there's so many great conversations. My concern and issue is that level of support ends as soon as women walk out. And then all of a sudden it's back to cutthroat. Like, well, that's this is what I wanted. This is what and so like that level of feminine support does not exist outside of a bathroom. Whereas men, we have no sign. We have no invisible flare. Like, we have nothing. We just think to ourselves, I gotta piss. And so like we go to the bathroom and we're at a urinal. Like, we literally stand at a wall because that's what we're good at talking to. Because then we don't have to talk to anyone. And for the men listening, you all know the rule of the urinal. And ladies, let me just fill you in on the rule of the urinal, which is you leave a space. If there are 3 urinals, don't be the a-hole that goes to the one in the middle. You go to the one on the outside so that you leave a urinal space between you and the next person. Now, nothing says supportive environment like leave space. And so I think I try to encourage guys to be like, it's okay to have a conversation in the bathroom too. Like, I'm not trying to be like, oh my God, I love your pants and shoes. Like, what a great combo. Right. Like, if you're in the urinal next to me, like, I'm the smart ass that's going to be like, hey man, how's it hanging? Like, you having a good night? I will do it because I think that we can dispel this concept that we have to be this, like, I'm just here to pee and then I have to go. Like, you can shoot the shit with somebody around it and be fine. You're not going to, like, I'm not trying to peek, dude, right? Like, I don't care. And so we've made it into this weird, awkward piece in the men's room, but that's only a reflective of the larger society that, well, I don't want to talk about my issues with anyone. Why would I go to counseling? Let me tell you right now, Lyn, I go to counseling every week, and that is glorious. It is amazing, and I love it. We need to do that more, because I don't think I found my core group of friends that I actually like vent to and process life with until I was probably 35. And that's when I finally felt like I had my group, my crew. And that's a long time to go without knowing kind of like who to talk to. My marriage was falling apart and I didn't know what to talk to, who to talk to. So I reached out to one friend and he connected me to 3 other people that were going through some stuff too, but we had no idea. And I think it's a shame because we don't, as men, know how to be supportive in that role.
No, and I do agree with you. And I think it all starts, that in actual fact, we're not educated or parented around these sorts of topics, are we? And how different, life would be if we grew up knowing this information, and being supported with this information right from, our first educators, our parents, through our school systems. We're just not given these sorts of life skills, are we?
No. Well, so I've got 2 kids. I've got a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. My 12-year-old daughter is amazing. My son, also incredible, and he's 10. And my son right now is to the point where as soon as he starts to get frustrated, he shuts down. Like, I can see it in him. And I'm like, oh, you get that from dad. And so I try to be like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, nothing, I'm fine. I'm like, number one, you are 10 and too old for this, or too young for this attitude of a teenager right now. But I'm like, hey, I know something is up. I'm here when you're ready to talk to me. Because what we also know doesn't work in terms of parenting is the like, tell me what's wrong. Just tell me what's wrong. Just shake me and tell me what's wrong. Right. Like that doesn't work.
No.
But I think for us, the best way that we can model that is for, in terms of masculinity for children or just general, our children is the communication and relationships. Hey, I know you don't feel like talking about it right now. I'm curious as to why you seem a little off or, this is what I'm feeling. I'm here when you want to talk. Like, just pull me aside and be like, hey, can we go to your room and talk real quick? And he's done that a couple of times of just like, okay, I think I'm ready. Can we talk? And we'll pull me aside into my room and, he'll be like, hey, this is what it is. And it's something just stupid, asinine. My sister did this. Okay, well, she's a tween. And so that's where we're at. But I think we have to do a better job role modeling what communication and vulnerability can look like.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, we're getting there because I think it has helped that I suppose we're transitioning more from a patriarchal society into a more matriarchal society, which is about learning more about being, and hopefully boys are getting and men are getting that it is okay to feel safe to be vulnerable without being perceived as being weak, which I think most of them have grown up with that perception in mind, or are teased and taunted by their peers around.
Well, my friend James, he says that if vulnerability is a weakness, then why is it so damn hard?
Yeah. And same for women, I think, as well. Vulnerability can be quite hard for women. That can be perceived as again, a weakness, or certainly, since women have been more, I suppose, independent on the back of the feminist movement, which is great. I support, as I say, equal opportunities for everybody. But what I have noticed is, but on the back of that, because we've become more independent, we step more into that masculine energy vibe, and that isn't attractive to the sort of men we want to attract, because all the men that we are attracted to experience on the back of us being in that masculine energy is that feeling that, oh my gosh, there's another male energy in the room. They might not even rationalize that in their head, because they can just feel it, and then it can lead to conflict and a lack of attraction for that woman, because all the man can experience is that challenge to his own masculinity. But
I think that's an ego piece as well.
Yeah,
right? Like that's male ego that we've also not taught men how to deal with, because my girlfriend makes probably 2.5 times what I make. She's a COO of an incredible agency, and so I'm like, and we were on a hike the other day, and I was like, by the way, I was like, I just need you to know, like, I'm not mad about how much you make. She was like, okay, I wanted to ask you about that. Because again, for me, I was like, more power to you. Like, I'm super happy. I was like, I'm going to actually let you pay for more food now. But I told her, I was like, look, like, it's not like your industry just pays a stupid great amount, which is incredible. And you've earned your path there. Like, you've been with that agency for 13 years and you've worked your way up and And I'm like, plus what you do is incredible. So like, you've earned that. I'm not mad about it. I'm like, if I want to make that much, great. I'm going to bust my ass and make and continue to like diversify and figure out what I'm going to do. And and let me 2 to 2.5 times my income. That's not an ego thing. And I think even when I was getting divorced, as soon as I let my own ego go and realized that it's not about me, it's about my kids. And that's where I want them to be happy and have 2 loving parents that hopefully still get along. And I'm thankful that my ex-wife and I still do a lot together, but we have to be able to put the ego aside, because I don't know that it's about feeling threatened that the woman is there or any of that. I mean, it's not about any of that. It's am I secure enough in who I am? And am I successful enough in what I want to do? And that's the fun part. Who defines success?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We as individuals can. I am happy with what I do. I'm good with what I make. Do I want to make a little bit more? Yes, because she chooses really nice restaurants, and turns out the food is good at really nice restaurants. But food and jokes and stuff like that aside, I want to be able to show my own children and to model the way for others, which is why I do this speaking work around like, look, it does not have to be hard to create a conversation that matters with another man, with a woman, with whomever. And that, like Lyn, it's not like I'm going to start out and be like, okay, so, hey, Lyn, it's great to meet you. What's your biggest fear? Like, I'm not like, that's not how conversations start. And
No.
we need to be more comfortable with having those iceberg moment conversations of, hey, Lyn, how's it going? How's the weather? What you doing? Right. Like the standard stuff on top of the water, but everything below that is so rich and so cool and so in depth. And so we throw away those conversations a lot. Hey, how's it going? I'm fine. Okay. It's not actually what we said, but okay. Like being able to have that level of a conversation where you've got the ability to ask where it goes and really show up with curiosity, show up with an intent to invest. That's going to be helpful for any relationship, not just, romantic relationship, but any relationship in the world can really come back to how you show up and ask questions.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. So Dan, what is your best email or contact information address for anybody that would like to get in touch with you on the back of you sharing your wisdom today with us?
So the easiest way, again, my name is Dan Faill. It turns out not a lot of fails in the world. So I am danfaill.com. So DANFAILL.com. And that's also my Instagram and social media handles on Twitter as well. Easiest way to get hold of me is probably on Instagram, but the website's right there for you. Excellent.
And finally, have you got any wise words of wisdom to share before we sign off?
Many. You're asking a keynote speaker to give wise words of wisdom in just a couple minutes. Here's what I'll say, and I kind of alluded to it. Who defines success, and where does that come from for you? And if you can understand why that voice in the back of your mind is saying, well, you're not good enough, or why aren't you sharing, or why aren't you showing up better, or you're not a man enough. Who defined man enough? And why can't you show up comfortably and confidently as whomever you want to be? The more that we can show up with our authentic selves, the more that we can connect with people on a deeper level. And so my hope is that people show up authentically and that you do that work to explore who you are.
Excellent. Love that. Thank you so much, Dan. It's been a fascinating conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And it just leaves me to say that true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.